Hi, Indira.
Hello, hi there.
How are you?
I just want to ask before we begin, have you worked with an interpreter before?
I have, not with a sign language interpreter, but I've worked with other interpreters.
Okay, so just to give you a couple of tips. When you're working with the interpreter's here just to translate, so if you can look at me rather than looking at the interpreter, that would be great.
Of course. So tell me, what is it that brings you here today?
I'm not feeling great. I'm feeling really down, feeling quite unhappy and quite hurt at the moment.
Okay, and is there something specific that's happened? How are things at home?
So my husband and I have a very happy, loving relationship, but for a little while now we've been arguing a lot and it's getting worse progressively, much worse than it was before, certainly at home.
And do you mind if I ask, is your husband also deaf?
He's deaf, yes.
Okay, so you use sign language to communicate.
Yes. Yeah. So we're talking here about the situation, but yes, we do use sign language.
Of course, of course. Just to get a picture of what family life is like at home. So tell me, how have things changed with your husband? What's exactly the problem?
So what's actually happened is it was a work situation. He was let go, so he now no longer has a job. And it's really affected him. Home life has changed. He's very down, quite aggressive, quite moody, shouting a lot, and really for not any reason.
Okay, and do you also have children?
I do, I've got 2 children, yes. 2 and 4. Samia is 2 and Naga is 4.
Okay, and what's their relationship like with their father?
He's a great father. He's really great with the children. He loves them very much and the children love him. They have a great relationship. But there was an incident that happened.
Okay, then if it's okay with you, I'd like to focus on that incident. Can you tell me exactly what happened?
So my husband's friend got a new job and they were out celebrating at the pub. When he arrived home, he was drunk. He'd clearly been drinking. And so I thought it would be nice to ask how his evening had went, how the party had gone. But he'd reacted in a really aggressive way, started shouting at me for no reason.
Do you have any ideas why he was so angry? Is this a way that he behaves normally, or is this just a one-off incident?
It has happened in the past, but this was the worst situation. And I think because he was drunk, that's why it was worse. All I had done was ask, and the reaction. He thought that I was asking because I didn't trust him. And we then had a big argument about, he thinks I'm accusing him of cheating with other women, but that wasn't the case at all. All I was doing was asking how his evening went, but I think because of the alcohol, that made things worse.
And can I also ask, does your husband ever use drugs?
No, he doesn't use drugs.
No, okay. So there was alcohol involved, your husband came home, you were arguing. Could you go into a bit more detail about what happened next?
So he was screaming at me, shouting, really, really aggressive. And my children were upstairs. They came running down. I think they must have heard what was going on. And they obviously saw us having this really heated argument. So, yeah.
It must have been hard for you with the children there particularly.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So what happened next after the children had come down?
So my husband tried to approach me to hurt me, and Sammy saw what was going to happen and tried to kind of intervene. And then my husband hurt Sammy. It was very unexpected. He grabbed Sammy and threw Sammy to the floor, and Sammy started crying.
Okay. And after this, when Sammy started crying, did it make your husband realise what he was doing? Did that change his behaviour at all?
I expected my husband to act like that, but that did not happen. It was almost like he wasn't interested in the fact that Sammy was crying. I went across and I lifted Sammy, obviously, to make sure it was okay, to protect him, and I took him upstairs along with my other child, Naga. So we went upstairs and my husband actually followed us up to the room. I put Sammy on the bed and he continued shouting at me, and then things got worse.
Okay, worse in what way? Did he start behaving more violent towards you?
So Sammy was crying, really crying, and he had a belt at this point.
Okay, so your husband had taken his belt off. Did he use the belt? Did he use the belt to hit one of you?
So first of all, he took the belt off and he hit Sammy. Mm-hmm. And I went across to protect. Was it Sammy that was hit? Yeah, hit Sammy. And I went across to make sure Sammy was okay. Hit Sammy. And I went across to make sure Sammy was okay. Obviously, I didn't want him to be hit anymore. But then he started hitting me because I was then in the way.
And where did he hit you?
All over. My back, my legs. He just carried on hitting me. I can't remember how many times. It was incredibly painful.
Okay. This is very serious, Indira, and I'd like to first of all say you're very brave for having come to me to talk about this. After this happened, did you get any help from friends or family? Did you go to the hospital?
I haven't. I don't want to ask family and friends. They can't sign, and I'm not sure they would understand if I told them what was going on. If I was to go to the hospital, I'm a bit frightened. I'm not sure what will happen to my children. Will they be taken off of me? So I just decided to keep it to myself. I'm just not sure what to do.
Okay. Can I just ask, why is it that you were worried what might happen to your children? Has your husband threatened to take them away from you?
So I'm worried that they might think that children are not safe, that they might be taken away. I really don't know. I don't know what the situation would be if I reported, and that makes me worried.
Okay, so I want to reassure you that you've really done the right thing by coming to speak to me. Your husband is clearly violent, and we will do everything we can to help you change this situation. I'd also like to ask if this has ever happened before or if this is the very first time.
It has happened before. It's not the first time. It has happened in the past.
Okay. And have you ever spoken to anybody about this, or is this the first time you're sharing this?
This is my first time telling anybody.
Okay.
It's just that I feel like I'm at a point where it's enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good thing to say that enough is enough, and you've really done the right thing. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about what I'd like to do next. So first of all, I'd like to contact an organisation called Sign Health, and I'm going to see if they can get you a deaf independent domestic violence advisor, because they will have much more experience in dealing with this situation, specifically with deaf women. So that's the first thing I'd like to do. There's also, if you would be interested, there's a group called Definitely Women, and I could perhaps put you in touch with them, and they would also be able to provide you with a network of other deaf women who have been through a similar situation, because I think it could really help you to have this kind of support network.
Yep, that sounds really good. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate the support. I didn't know what would happen when I eventually said something, so thank you.
Of course. And I also want to reassure you that your children will not be taken away from you. The law is on your side. There is a Domestic Abuse Act 2021. And within this act, there are definitions of all the different forms of domestic abuse and domestic violence, one of which is also called coercive control. Now, coercive control is where there is abuse that's not necessarily physical. It can be threats, harassment, humiliation. And it sounds to me like you might also have been suffering from this. So this is something I'd also like to be able to talk to you about in more detail. But for now, I just want you to know that the law is there to protect you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would like to organise another appointment with you when you're free. I just want to ask, though, if you're happy to continue with Julie as an interpreter, or if you have worked with other interpreters in the past, if there is an interpreter, a different interpreter that you would prefer to work with, that you would feel more comfortable working with, then that can also be arranged.
That's fine. I would prefer the same interpreter, and that means they know the context. So it would be good to have the same interpreter, but thank you for asking.
Of course.